Welcome back to our conference, and now we will start with the second panel, the first panel dedicated to access to employment, and with a presentation of the results of the Win With You project. But first, I would like to give the floor to our board member, Vincent Grimaldi, who will present scientific research about the barriers and the people from accessing employment. Vincent, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Aurélie. And the presentation is starting here. And ladies and gentlemen, it is really a pleasure for me to chair this great panel about employment for autistic people. My colleague, Professor Nunzio Casalino from the Louis Business School in Rome will talk about the Win With You project. And Carsten Lassen, CEO of Specialisterne in Denmark, will talk about his experience of the professional inclusion of people with autism. Both of them are on my left here. Allow me to begin with a scientific look at how your beautiful brain works. So there are many lefties around us. I've spotted a few. And when you are left-handed, it is not in the hand or the foot that it is happening, but in the brain. If you are a lefty, the way your brain is wired is different. And it is not a disease, as you probably know. Being left-handed or right-handed is in our genes. It comes from our parents and grandparents. However, 50 years ago, lefties were still forced to write with the right hand. See. And the problem was not lefties, but society's view of them. Today we have progressed, and there is not a coach of a team of football, tennis, judo, or fencing who would do without lefties in the team. So those coaches manage the neurodiversity of their team without even knowing it. 20 years ago, Professor Thomas Bourgeron, that is here on the screen, and his team at Institut Pasteur in Paris isolated a first gene variant contributing to autism. And since then, over 100 genes have been identified by researchers worldwide. Research shows that autism is linked to the combined effect of many small genetic variants. Bourgeron demonstrated that autism is part of the human neurodiversity and not a disease. It comes from for over 80% of likelihood. I have the pleasure of working with Professor Bourgeron on a large European research project called R2D2 Mental Health. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the European Parliament and the European authorities present here for your support to pan-European research on autism. And what you do is really important. Thank you very much. Allow me to give you an example of what is happening in your wonderful brain. Children have many more neurons than us. If you are a parent, you know that. Then, during their teenage, a phenomenon of pruning occurs. In autism, this phenomenon seems to be different, and it retains many more neurons than the average. And these neurons, as you can see on the screen here, show a noticeably different appearance. On the far right, you can see that they are more woolly in appearance, creating more contacts. Studies, including Elise Robinson's in 2016, suggest that the autism spectrum merges in the continuum of the population. So it is not us versus them. It is actually all of us concerned. Indeed, the same genes implicated in autism appear to influence social skills across the population, suggesting that the autism spectrum has no clear threshold or cutoff. research has shown that social charm, empathy, and the ability to make friends relate to, of course, practice and education, but also how many genetic variants of autism we have. In sum, we can conclude that the autism spectrum merges into the continuum of the population. In terms of behavior, it is not black and white. Considering that so many genes are involved, this chart helps you understand that everybody's brain displays strengths and weaknesses. So when we talk about IQ, right, I mean, you cannot summarize everything in one index. Right? And so here I've chosen for you 6 different dimensions. And in dark green, you see that many people with autism show strong skills, such as expertise and a powerful memory for details. But social skills might not be their cup of tea, however. Professor Simon Baron-Cohen and his team at Cambridge University developed a battery of tests to assess your natural technical skills that he calls systemizing. He showed that autistic people that were known at the time as Asperger's perform much better than the control group that you see here in gray. You see the Asperger's more than 50% above on the left side in green. And here is, by the way, an example of test. If the wheel rotates as shown, P will, and the right answer is C, move to and fro. I'm sure you found that out. And some people with autism have their own way of thinking, and they see the world around them differently, considering that they are wired just like all of us. We are 8 billion people wired differently, and we all see the world a little bit differently. They just happen to see the world a little bit more differently than the others. And in business, it is very good to have people around who see new solutions to old problems. This is a good thing. And they have other qualities worth mentioning. They are sensitive, independent, curious, persistent, good listener often, and loyal friends always. When everyone gathers around the coffee machine, we can count on them to make it work. This is the advantage of having them around, the advantage of neurodiversity. And so you are going to ask me, how many people are we talking about? Well, it is hard to say, but it is a lot. Allow me to take an example from France and to talk a little bit about figures. If we take a threshold of 1% of the population, which is called the cutoff, this is kind of the official rate applied in France. And considering that you have 67 million people in France, it's about 700,000 autistic people. And if you take into account the adult working population, it would be 360,000 adults in France. If you apply a cutoff of 2.5%, that is well accepted throughout the world and promoted by Tony Atwood, then you would have for France about 900,000 adults with autism, adults of working age. And if you apply the rate of Massachusetts in the US, which is the highest in among the 50 American states, if you apply that rate of 4.01%, then in France, you could consider that you have almost 1.5 million adults in the working populations, adult concerned. So the numbers are absolutely staggering. And The UN is actually worried, as all of us, that the overall majority of individuals with autism are still unemployed. And so let's dive into that kind of figures. Most of them have developed a high level of expertise. They have, for many of them, university degrees, multiple language skills. And despite those terrific qualities that I've been talking about 80% of adults on the spectrum do not work or are unemployed or occupy a job that is undervalued in relation to their skills. And so you are going to ask me, why? Well, I guess you know the answer. The answer is here on the screen. Recruiters, but not only, all of us, observers, whether judges or social workers, cannot relate to the aliens from Mars in front of them. People seek out other people who master the social codes imposed by a social majority, right? And it is what we call social projection, and it just happens that the person we like best looks just like us. This is not overt discrimination. It is a matter of cognitive biases. Cognitive biases are unconscious errors that our brain makes when facing complex decisions, such as recruiting. Daniel Kahneman, here on the screen, is a doctor in psychology who was awarded the Nobel Prize for the impact of his research in cognitive biases and their variability. For him, many of our business decisions are no better than flipping a coin. You heard me well. You would fare better if you put a coin on the table and you flip the coin. Cognitive biases cannot be prevented. They are hardwired in our human brain, but at least we can limit their effect. For instance, Claudia Goldin, that is here on the screen, studied the positive impact of blind auditions in the recruitment of talented female musicians in symphonic orchestras. They adopted blind auditions with a screen that you barely see here in the middle to hide the identity of the candidate from the jury. And the recruitment, this was done 50 years ago. It's not recent. The recruitment process is adapted to focus on musical competence and frame recruiters' unconscious cognitive biases. And so if you apply this to autistic people, it is interesting, but much more complicated. Job interviews are an integral component of the hiring process in most companies. And Lauren Rivera, a researcher at Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management, which is my alma mater, studied that the success of your job interview depends on your ability to, one, communicate your qualifications, but two, appear friendly, pleasant, and collegial, even if you are not in touch with customers or the public. And as you know, often the candidates on the spectrum aren't very great at that. During job interviews, candidates on the spectrum, they do not exchange small talk to break the ice. They go straight to the point. They think carefully about answering questions. They provide long and detailed answers. They speak a Shakespearean language. They have little eye contact with the recruiter. They speak a monotone voice with little body language. Basically, they are hard to read. In short, they are perceived as awkward after just a few seconds, explained Noah Sasson of the University of Texas. Because of the negative first impression, it is created in the brain of the recruiter a very strong anchor. And because of the confirmation bias studied by Daniel Kahneman, recruiters ask all the wrong questions, reinforcing that first negative impression. and therefore the talented candidate with autism will probably be eliminated. Chris Welpley experimented that in face-to-face interviews. And he found out, you are not surprised, here the autistic candidates are in green and the control group, neurotypicals, are in red. And so the control group outperformed candidates with autism on every dimension, except the middle one, the bizarre, awkward dimension. How was your candidate? Well, it was kind of bizarre, right? And so for that, autistic people are really, really, really good in face-to-face interviews. Then when it becomes interesting is that Chris Welpley tested asking recruiters to assess the written transcription of the candidate's answer without visual cues, and then look at the results. Basically, the situation is reversed. Individuals with autism outperformed the control group of neurotypical candidates when you don't have visual cues. The conclusion of this preliminary research is important for business. Employers who base hiring decisions on face-to-face interviews may actually reject the best candidates for a job, particularly if the position does not require strong social skills. During an interview process, candidates with autism often rely on the ability to compensate. They use the cognitive capacity to mask their visible autistic traits. However, cognitive capacities, as you probably know, if you ever passed oral exams, your cognitive capacities decrease with stress. And recruiting processes are particularly stressful situations, which is not good for autistic people. Microsoft, for instance, has addressed that problem with a 4-day recruitment process for coders on the autism spectrum. They adapted recruitment process, including mock interviews to help reduce the stress. So you have a mock interview in the morning and a real interview in the afternoon. And that real interview is interrupted with pauses that are regularly included to allow the candidate to relax and to drink, a little bit as we did a few minutes ago. In Europe, SAP is one of the first companies to have developed a recruitment program targeting people with autism with the help of specialist Turner that is here today. And beyond the recruitment of autistic talents, the whole company is now trying to adapt its processes to become inclusive on the entire human neurodiversity. Many companies have followed SAP in internet, manufacturing, oil, finance, defense, retail, food. We have learned from them that all management practices have benefited from the arrival of new colleagues with autism, not least because they challenge the status quo and push for continuous improvement in corporate practices. Managers supervising people with autism have improved their ability to listen, their openness, their empathy. In sum, the managers become better managers, and everybody, not only autistic people, benefits from it. Here, I've been focusing today on recruiting, but inclusion is critical as well. It is important to provide managers and the team with awareness training and to provide coaching and mentoring to the new hires. So what about the cost for employers? Well, several recent research show that hiring talent on the spectrum actually improved financial results, provided productivity gains, and gave employees, of course, a pride in working for the employer. In conclusion, allow me to put some words in the mouth of actor Anthony Hopkins, who disclosed his own autism in 2017. And he said it's a great gift, actually, to the media. Here you have Admiral Nick Hine, who disclosed his autism in 2021. He had over 35,000 people under his command. And for him, there is no risk in hiring autistic people. He told me, I'm hiring all the autistic people I can. And he said, there is no risk since they are already all around us in lots of different jobs. And then, of course, in 2021, you have Elon Musk that disclosed in front of millions of people on TV his own autism. And he said to the media that when he was a young engineer, he wanted to get the job, but never got hired. And so my conclusion is that neurodiversity is profitable and challenges the status quo. The question is not, should we do it? They are already around us, but they hide and they do not contribute their full potential. And therefore, the real question is, why don't we start integrating more of them now? And so please, all of you here and listening to us, tell your business colleagues to join us. It is productive, it is profitable, and will create more jobs for people with autism. Thank you very much for your attention.
Welcome to everybody. I am introducing me. I am Nunzio Casalino. I am a full professor of business organization and human resource management. And I am here to present, thanks also to Autism-Europe that invited us, and especially thanks also to Chiara Gemma that hosted us in the main European institution. And, we are very happy to be here. The idea is was born because we have in our university, Lewis University and Lewis Business School, several students, autistic students that have difficulties to find the job and also to maintain the job on activities. So our idea was to study how to increase the knowledge, the experience of entrepreneurs, of managers, and to give them also some tools, some instructions to better manage this kind of persons. So we designed the Winning With You project with the contribution also of University of Campus Biomedico, Autism-Europe, Specialist Stern, and the European Center for Quality, and from 4 different countries. And this project is mainly oriented to understand and to help 2 kinds of target groups. One are autistic people, youth mainly, especially, and the other target group are entrepreneurs and managers that are usually not our participant in masters or other training initiatives. In particular, the project results that is a 36-month project that is completing. We will complete the project next August, at the end of next August, is divided in 3 different outputs. One output, sorry, I am to the same. I forget 3 different outputs. The first one was a very long activities of about 18 months that included our research activities, mainly oriented on literature review, because I will describe later, several surveys in different countries, and the design of a learning methodology, because our idea is to give guidelines, some important tools to entrepreneurs and managers to help people, or this kind of people, to be included, to be involved in working environments. The second output was related to the creation of a platform, online platform, in which are available documents, reports, studies, literature in general, for people that want to study this kind of fields, and an open access platform with 12 learning modules that are the learning output number 3. The literature background, the literature analysis was based on the analysis of 134, because it's not synchronized, 134 articles and reports, thank you very much, Mr., in 4 countries, and was very important for the partners of the project, but also for the other people that were involved in our activities, because give us the possibility to us to obtain, what are the challenges that we have to valorize in a working environment. For example, we understood that understanding complex job application materials, or acclimatizing to new procedures and routines, interacting socially, the same that was already talked before, the soft skills also that were have to be improved, especially for this kind of person. Communicating, the communication skills are very important also for this person. Which was the problem, that in our analysis, only 14 articles and reports described this kind of strengths and the strengths and the potentialities of autistic people. Only the 10%. And this is this for us was very important to understand, because this is this gives us the point of view that in our studies, in managerial and economic studies, for example, there is not any sensitiveness regarding autism and in the other kind of these abilities. So we go in we proceed to collect also several other information by surveys. So we interviewed 210 people in all the countries involved in the project, thanks to our partners, and also by giving them specific surveys to people with autism and to caregivers, because for us it was very important also to talk with caregivers, that they have several information about this kind of this person. So thanks to this service, we collected several other information that I will talk about later, and also was the occasion to collect also 18 inclusion cases from Italy, from Belgium, from Denmark, and from Bulgaria. Okay, and from the service, and this was very important also to increase the knowledge regarding the autistic field, we identified 35 critical issues and difficulties regarding the workplaces for these persons. Okay, especially regarding communication, regarding the misunderstanding or misunderstanding sometimes, regarding other kind of difficulties of integration, lack of communication, or other main, less important, but also existing issues regarding the integration, for example, with the co-workers. Because very usually these persons are not well connected also with the co-workers, not only with the boss, with the entrepreneurs, but also at the same with the peers. And this information were collected in this report that is freely available. If you go on the website, you can download this study. This is a multi-language study in 5 languages. And you can obtain this information that I think are very, very useful, not only for entrepreneurs and managers, but for all people that want to understand how to better integrate this kind of person in our workplace. Okay? So if you want, please go on the website and download this study. It's multi-language. The second main aspect of the project was based in the learning content creation. And we designed two different multimedia learning paths. One focused on autistic people, and the second one oriented to, as I already said before, managers, entrepreneurs, but also staff of a company, teams, or other kind of person that usually are involved with autistic person inside a company. All the learning contents are available in 5 languages. This was also a very important goal of our project, because it's not easy also to localize, not only to translate, but localize the contents in the national languages. So, and at the end, starting from the experience of the survey, and of the report that we created, starting with the experience of our partners, we created 12 learning modules, 6 for each learning path. And not only, we created a multimedia tutorial to explain how to attend our course that is freely. You have not registered, you have not to put your information. It's open access and open access and freely to use by internet. We created 2 kinds of skill assessment tools: pre-quiz to give the possibility to evaluate before the training or the learning activities initiatives, and post-learning quiz. So at the end of this learning path, of the both learning path, you will collect a certificate of attendance that you can download, you can print, etc., etc. But inside each learning modules, we collected also case studies and best practices, because we think that it's very important to replicate the best practices in workplaces. This is what managers, entrepreneurs, professionals, consultants ask to university, for example. No? How can we solve this problem? How we can involve this person? And so we tried to give them some best practices that all partners of our project collected. Sorry, I lost one slide. Collected in each country. This is important. In the detail, this is the learning path 1 description. As you can see, you can find the 6 modules that are open access. If you want to learn something regarding these 6 topics, you can participate and you can obtain this content. For example, introduction to work opportunities and the potentialities for a better inclusion, or essential of business organization, that is my field, for example, improving social communication, interaction, and multitasking skills, stress, anxiety, and frustration management, autism and time management techniques, because it's very important for them to better define the times and the rules in which how to interact inside the working places. Or again, organization and prioritization of tasks at works. The second learning path include that is oriented, I would like to remember, to entrepreneurs and managers, is more oriented in inclusive practices. So it is the main goal of our project. For example, how to better define the rules of environment and workplaces aspects, for example, to better set the right place for this kind of person, the right colleagues for this kind of person. Then also processes and steps to become an inclusive autism-friendly organization. I would like only to remember that at the end of the project, it will be possible also. It will be possible. This time is synchronized. It's possible also to obtain the label for the website of a company, autism-friendly organization. And it is very motivating system also to invite more companies to attend our courses. So we will give them this label. Or again, equal opportunities, autistic worker integration, etc., etc. In any case, you can find this on our web platform. In the next 2 months, we will organize online prototype events that will be very useful, like similar to this side event, to better refine, to better set some aspects of our training activities, and to better valorize and disseminate also the activities that we have made. And if you want and are you interested, you can subscribe our newsletter and you will receive the dates of the national events, because we will arrange this online. No problem, you have not to stay or to come in Italy or in other countries. At the end of one of both learning paths, you will obtain a certificate of attendance that will describe, in this case, is a template, but automatically will be generated a list of the modules that you selected, that you attended. And at the end, okay, all of you are invited also to the final conference that will be hosted at Lewis Business School University the next July 4, if you want, in which we will present all the results of the project. There are several institutions, ministries, etc., that will be involved, because our idea is also, as we are making now, also to sensibilize and to involve also the policymakers in this kind of initiatives, to transfer also our experience and to replicate our experience. And we hope also to continue to work, because after this project, we already submitted a new project like Win With You 2.0, that is the evolution, that is Learn Autism, learning and employment approaches for individuals with autism to enhance their quality of work life and careers. We hope to continue with these very good partners to continue in our initiatives, and at the end also to participate and to share our results also in other initiatives. For example, we other founded project or our grants like Autism-Europe, like EFC, like Erasmus+, etc., etc. I think I finished my presentation. I hope everything is clear. In any case, you can contact me or you can go on the website. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nunzio. It was extremely clear. And now we'd like to give the floor to another partner in the project, a key partner, Karsten Larsen, who's the CEO of Specialisten. Karsten, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, what a lot of words. I hope you are ready for even more words. I'll try to speak slowly. Well, as I said, I'm Karsten. I'm from Specialisten in Denmark, and I have been invited to briefly touch upon how we, in a practical manner, go about creating sustainable job creation for autistic people in Denmark and all over the world. Thanks for inviting us. Thanks for creating this opportunity to meet like-minded people and to share ideas and vision. I think we are all on the same path, and I think we're onto something valuable here that can create value not only to the autistic community, but to the labor market in general. So Specialisten was created back in 2004 and our vision is basically to create a world where everybody is given equal opportunities in the labor market. And as Vincent has told us, to give everyone equal opportunity, we should really treat everybody differently. So to be treated the same, you should be, well, to be given equal opportunity, we should be treated differently. So that is a key takeaway. So if you can only remember one thing today, that's it. That's quite important. So that's why we were founded, basically to try to disrupt the labor market model, to try and create other ways of employing people, other ways of onboarding people, realizing that ever since the Industrial Revolution, it's been all about people, the individuals adapting to the company. So now we think it's payback time. It's about time that the companies adapt to the individuals, because we're simply leaving too many people behind if we do not change our perspective. So Specialisterne was founded in Denmark, but actually we now are as a global company. We have offices in all the blue countries. So I normally say that the sun never goes down on Specialisterne. We don't have an office in Africa yet. This is a little bit to do about market maturity. I mean, there's a will everywhere, but we are still picking the low-hanging fruits, although there are no low-hanging fruits. It's a lot of work because we are creating systemic change here. I mean, that does not happen overnight. But so far, we have managed to onboard more than 10,000 people worldwide. And right now, we are a company with 650 employees. And around roughly 450 of those are autistic individuals who are employed by Specialisterne in various countries, working as consultants or doing normally they're doing contract staffing work or managed services, whatever feature you would want to call it. Basically, where we hire people and then we rent them out to companies where they are doing some great work, and I'll get back to that. Just to give you a brief idea of who we are. So why is this important? This slide tells a lot about why this is so important. These are numbers for Denmark, but if I compare to other countries, it's kind of similar. This was done before the Russian invasion and before the market went crazy. But I think to a large extent, it is still true. In Denmark, 40% of the companies say that shortage of staff is the biggest challenge for growth at all. And that 1/3 of all positions have not been filled over the last 12 months. They've simply not been able to find suitable candidates for relevant postings. 50% of the companies have simply given up hiring IT staff, and 20% of all new postings in Denmark is about engineers. So this is what we normally in Denmark we call it like STEM competencies, and basically like the predominant STEM works is normally the kinds of competencies that we would say is also compatible with what we're looking into when we're talking about autism advantage. You've touched upon it, Vincent, earlier. So, and here's another fun fact for you. Last year, 14% of all graduates in the STEM area in Denmark did not have a job 12 months after their graduation. So why is this? Well, to some extent, it's because they have just put on some sneaks and a rucksack and then went to Thailand or Bali and sitting. That's a common thing to do in Denmark when you graduate. After studying for 15 or 18 years, you simply need a break. But I would say probably half of it is due to the lack of capability for Danish employers to employ these talents. And Vincent, you so beautifully explained why this is. Normally, I say we really need to cut down on what I call HR bullshit, which is predominant in mainstream recording, talking about you should thrive in a world of constant change, And basically no one does that. I mean, it's bullshit. And even the neurotypicals, we hate it. But if you say, no, that's not for me, you won't get the job. So you fake it and you adapt, right? And then you make coping strategies. Autistic people, to a large extent, they suck at coping strategies. I mean, and really, it should really not be necessary to create all these coping strategies. But that is predominant in the neurotypical world. So we have to change that. I think, so basically, sorry, rookie mistake here. So basically, what we are saying, for this to change, we should stop focusing so much on job profiles, like mirroring, copycatting each other, and start looking much more into what is the actual task you need solved. So if you take away the HR bullshit matters and say, we face all our customers with a smile, so yes, that's cool. But if you're doing, if you're in a back office position, you're basically, and you're doing quality assurance, you don't necessarily need to smile all the time, right? I can find really suitable candidates for you. They might not give you a smile all the time, but I'm pretty sure they can do the job. So, this is just one example, but if you go down like on standard job postings, it's full of it, right? So a crucial thing, if we are to change, we have to focus on eradicating cognitive bias, eradicating unconscious bias, all the stuff we don't know, all the discrimination we don't know we're doing because it's just how we present stuff, and then to really start focus on what is it actually, what kind of cases do we actually need solved, and create what we call like a universal design, and an inclusive work environment that accommodates everybody. It's not rocket science. It's a lot of common sense, basically. But if you don't think about it, it will never happen. I'll skip this one because we all know what the autism advantage is. But just focus on what the Harvard Business Review actually did a survey where they found out that autistic candidates were 60% faster than their neurotypical peers if the job is well scoped. If it is not well scoped, it's a totally different matter. But this is what it's all about, right? We should create a work environment and create a proper job scoping that makes it possible for people to thrive, to stay in your comfort zone. And then these are the numbers you get. We have a similar study from JP Morgan. We did the 200 recruitings for JP Morgan in New York, and they actually came to the same conclusion, that their neurodivergent colleagues were 6% faster than their neurotypical peers. And why is this? Good question. This is back to the discussion we had early on. Also about like keeping your focus. Our experience is that our autistic colleagues, they're really great at keeping their mind focused on one thing at a time. Most neurotypicals, when they've done a routine 10 times, they think, I'll just change it a little bit because I get bored. I'll change. Other side, you might move out of scope, or you would slow down. Our experience is that our autistic colleagues do not fall into those traps as easily as. Sorry, exaggeration warning. I'm simplifying some stuff, but I think we all conclude that sometimes we need to simplify matters to get a point through. So I hope you can bear with me here. So the areas where most of our employees are actually employed is with working with data. So a lot with data integration, data migration management, data validation, everything to do with controlling quality assurance. Autistic talent is annoyingly good at GDPR, and they have sometimes annoyingly good memory. That works very well. Everything to do with testing and obviously working into software development. So I'm saying this, is this because all autistic talent should work with data and work with IT? No, but there actually, I find everything that works in an airport is great work for autistic talent. Everything that takes place, most things that takes place within the hospitality area is really greatly suited for autistic talent. If there's a manual, if there's like, ways to do stuff, normally autistic talent would do it better than the neurotypicals. Our challenge is that we are a private company. We need someone to pay our salaries. And unfortunately, in the hospitality sector, people are not willing to pay for our services. They would rather, go even further away and live with the fact that there is an extremely high churn rate. Whereas these types of jobs are normally people who are getting very well paid. So there's a market for having people, organizations such as ours, do the job finding this talent. Our research shows that we have like a 95% retention rate on all the candidates that we have recruited. If we are able to find them, and if we're able to onboard them in the companies, they stay there, because normally they are not so much focusing on making huge careers and making huge salary rises. They are focused on finding a place where they are giving the chance to excel, working with their deep interest, and having, really important, having a boss that knows how to manage them, because that is a scarce resource in today's business life. So the model that we are running, so this is a busy slide. When we present to a company, basically there are two legs. One is working with management programs, teaching companies how to manage neurodivergent talent, how to communicate, how to scope tasks properly, understanding that neurodiversity is not something we can discuss. It's like the law of gravity. It's there. It's the evolutionary fact that all brains are wired differently. So once you get that done and start working with it, you become a much better manager to all your employees. So that's one thing. That's a crucial part of what we do. The other part is that we provide talent, neurodivergent talent, either via recruitment projects or as contract staffing. So you can get the management program without the staff hiring, but you cannot get the staff hiring without the management program, because on the right-hand side, that's where we have the diversity, but to ensure that we also get the inclusion, that is what takes place on the left side. So really, that's our guarantee that it works, even when we are no longer involved. And we have had some prior experiences where we have kind of neglected this because the company said they were not interested in it. But what we find out is that, for one thing, you don't get the systemic change, and for secondly, it's too vulnerable, because if there's a change in management, then you're totally, they are totally left on their own, and that's just simply too vulnerable. So we don't do that anymore. But actually, this is also, when we talk to companies, they kind of like this, because it's all about lowering the entry barriers to neurodiversity hiring. I rarely ever meet a company leader who says, "What a lame idea! What the hell are you doing? Why don't you do something else?" I mean, that's the most silly project I've ever heard. Most company leaders say, "Wow, great, respect, keep up the good work." And when we say, "Okay, when should we start?" I'm free Monday. It's always like, "Oh yeah, but we are right in the middle of a transition. We are doing a turnaround, so it's not the right time." So when is the right time? It's never the right time. You basically have to jump in and accept that you cannot control anything. And there's probably some bits of your company that is not in the middle of a transition. Otherwise, you're really in problem. Then you should probably talk to McKinsey. So lowering the entry barriers, trying to secure the managers and tell them that you do not need a psychology, master's degree in psychology to manage neurodivergent talent. No, it's a lot of common sense. And basically just being aware and having someone telling you, no, this is not an awkward person. No, this is Daniel. He has autism, and that means that he can remember pi with the 24 decimals. He does not get any information from looking you in the eyes. He might look in your mouth or in your hands. But that does not make him strange. It's just different, and once you realize that, you kind of demystify it, and everything becomes much easier. Anyway, that's our experience. Right. Will we be sharing these slides afterwards? Otherwise, then I'll just skip this. This is just basics on how we do stuff. But one important thing is that we do not do cover letters and job interviews and no, because what you get from a job interview, you assess a person's ability to do a job interview. You don't know if they have written the application themselves. You don't know if their CV is bulletproof. So that's basically what you get. So it's just a real snapshot. So we don't do that. We work with testing. We work with cases. All our consultants have been on a 3-month program on site with us, making sure that we know all about the candidates, their strong points, both from the skills, social skills, personal skills, and their work skills. Very important. So the customers do not get to decide who they employ. We do that because we know every time we present them with 3 CVs, they would go for the one that looks more like, that is most similar to the boss. So thank you for sharing that. Right. So all kinds of training, but we're also training HR managers in improving their HR processes, and we can go into a lot of that. Feel free to ask. But basically, this is important. So when you start working with neurodiversity recruitment, neurodiversity management, our experiences from a lot of cases, we've done scientific research, and all the research shows that when you onboard neurodivergent talent, you become a better manager, and your neurotypical peers feel that there is a stronger team coherence. They experience that internal communication goes up, and that productivity goes up. So even from a pure sense perspective, this is important stuff. Everyone benefits from thinking about creating an inclusive work environment. Then just a few cases here, and basically the key takeaway here from the 2 cases I brought here is that the reason why we succeed here is because there is top management buy-in. Many projects in history has been like bottom-up projects. There's been the one person in the organization says, I want to do this, but it lives and dies with that one person. If you really want to do the systemic change, it should be sponsored from C-level, and there should be someone from C-level who says, we do this. So it's not a matter of when and why, or how. You should go do it. And the organizations where we have really succeeded are the organizations where top management has said, we are sponsoring this. We are paying. Don't think of headcounts. We are paying. Go out. So the only risk you run as a manager is the risk of trying to manage people that you have not managed before, but you do not have the financial risk on top of that, and you do not have to, include your ordinary headcounts as well, because that's a way of sharing the risk. And at the end of the day, you reach to the same result, just much faster. I'll say no more.